Morning, everybody. How you all doing? Welcome, 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 welcome. It is another week. It is what the hell is it? It's the September the 20th. Yeah, that's right. September. The It's been a hell of a month. It's been a hell of a month, and it's not even over yet. So this is a throwback. I haven't been in the car in a while, but I had to do something this morning. Couldn't get back to the crib to properly set up for the studio, so have to go about it this way, and that's cool. Um, Sister Rashi will be with us shortly. I got Brother Barry said he's going to be about 10 minutes late, and Rodney will be on whenever he wakes up. It's one of those things where that 3 hour difference is huge in the mornings, and I know how that goes. But um, we're going to talk about President Trump being in the UK. We're going to talk about the Epstein files. We're going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel. We're going to talk about just this whole ordeal that we're going through right now. Yo, I just thought about this honestly before going live. I was like, we we're gonna talk about Trump in one or two ways for the foreseeable future. He's either going to be the president that brought the country together and saved it, or the president that ripped us to shreds and destroyed us. It is amazing to me to think of that cat like that. But that is the truth. That's what's going to happen with him. He's going to be one of two things. He's either going to be the great savior of America, or he's going to be the destroyer of America. There's no way around it. It's one or the other because of what he's done and what he's doing and others around him. Again, let's not give him so much credit, but others around him are helping him do, are eating away at the norms that we have become used to. You're talking 1776. Hell, you're talking almost 300 years as a nation, and we have never ever seen anything like this. It hasn't even been close to like this. I can only think in my mind, um, and I'm talking about the nation as a whole. I'm not talking about black folks because black folks have had it bad in many iterations of our nation. But I can only think of maybe the days of McCarthyism. Maybe I'm that. Yeah, maybe that. Because there were so many levels of people getting caught up in that, right? I can't even think of World War II because that was mainly black folks and Asian folks. That wasn't the majority or almost anybody and everybody. So I don't know if that would have um, been as wild as what we're going through right now. But this is the time in which we live. These are the circumstances in which we have to go through, and as people, as humans, we always find a way to survive, and more often than not, we find a way to thrive. What that looks like right now is the murky bit. It's very murky, because there's so many factors. There's the economy in general, then it's specifically your personal economy, job losses left and right, forced reductions right and left. I read something just yesterday. The Army, I think it was the Army, maybe it was the Navy, it doesn't matter. The military is looking at reducing the number of pilots, right? So think about that. In fact, put that up against the backdrop of what we know is going on just within our country with Spirit Airlines. We don't know the future of Spirit Airlines, but they're talking about cutting capacity. They're talking about cutting routes. Pilots are going to leave. Well, you have even more pilots coming into the fold while others are losing their jobs. Who's going to get the job? Somebody has to be left out. Who will that be? Could that be me? It very well could be me. Hell, I don't know. Um, but I would like to know. And that's just one of those things that you don't know until you know. Hold on, Sister Rashi. I'm gonna get you up on here. Give me a second. I'm gonna figure out how to get you on here. Cause I gotta there you go. Gotcha. Yeah, I got the I'm in the car because I couldn't get back to the house this morning. But then anyhow, um who is that going to be? Is that going to be me? How does that directly impact? Does it directly impact me? These are concerns that we have right now that I won't say they're odd because there's always challenges to life, but compile them with the fact that there is a rift between the federal government and the Fed. So we just got a 0.25 break on interest rates. What the hell did that do? It moved the needle for almost nobody. Actually, interest rates went down for a moment, but then they went right back up. And they actually went higher than what they were. There's so much uncertainty around, again, various aspects of our lives right now that people are frustrated, confused, and dangerous. Let's be honest, they are dangerous because we are still mammals at the end of the day. And if it's that much uncertainty, if it's that much frustration, we will act out. We will act out. And oftentimes that shows up in very violent manners. We can go to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We can not go there. We can talk about school shootings. We could not go there. We could talk about police brutality. We could not go there. There's so many angles that we could touch upon in which you see humans acting out. They can act out in negative manners. They can act out in positive manners. I, there's going to be a new dance craze soon. It's going to be a new one. It, it's time for some creativity to come out of all this struggle. There will be something. It's going to be huge. It'll give people a good feel for the moment. In that moment, however long it lasts. Walking around Korea when I was there a couple of weeks ago, there was some graffiti of the dude that did that 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 dance that he had going, Gundam style, whatever the hell it was called. And I was like, yo, this dude had one hit and he's living great for the rest of his life because that's all it takes is one hit, but he's living great for the rest of his life. That's just bananas. But thinking back to that and thinking about where we are right now, it's time for something like that to happen. It's just what we do. It's what we do as people when we are so trapped, again, so frustrated. We find ways in order to cope, and that's a coping mechanism for us. Others do it from cigarettes, alcohol, other drugs. Some do it from sex. Some do it from money, the gym, playing the sport. Some do it musically. Some do it artistically in other ways, writing or painting or whatever. But again, my point, Trump is going to be known as either the president that saved America by putting us back together, or he's going to be known as the president that totally ripped us apart. He totally ripped us to shreds. It's going to be one of the two, and we're going to be talking about this monster for a very, very, very long time. As this week unfolded, I was happy to look back on last weekend. If you don't know, I was in the Bronx. I did the 52nd of Hip Hop anniversary and the Founders Awards. The pictures started coming out, the video started coming out. Shout out to Van Silk. He put the event together with the Cowboy Foundation and Cowboy Sisters. Shout out to her. It was it was it was lovely. It was lovely because I looked at myself as a kid growing up, hearing these folks' names and not being able to attach a face to it, but finally seeing their faces and like, wow, this is crazy for me. You know, um, one of the guys that I work with says to me, he says, "Man, you've lived a good life." And sometimes I'm very critical. I'm a Virgo, so sometimes I'm very critical of myself. And that was a moment in which I paused and I looked back on it. And I was like, you know what? This dude, right? I've done pretty okay for myself. I've done pretty okay for myself. And sitting, being in places like this, at times like this, reaffirms that for me. So it was very lovely to take part in that, and I'm looking forward to the next one and the next one and the next one. You know, everyone's getting older now, so unfortunately, we have more and more RIPS every year, but we are also blessed with having those around us who are around us. Sister Rashi, good morning to you. How you doing?
I'm doing excuse me. I'm doing all right. How you doing, brother? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a long week, but I'm in it to win it. I'm listening to your last soliloquy about quality of life, value of life, and other people appraising what you have chosen to do with your life, you know? And I'm glad to see that not only can you,
Rashi, I'm with you.
huh?
Nah, I'm with you.
I'm glad to see you can receive such information and not be feeling like somebody is in your, because it's like how you choose to live your life has become so personal. I mean, yes,
Yes.
that's what it is. But so but other people think it's their business. And so when you want it to be your own experience with the chance to keep your own, cells together and your journey through time as a space vessel, somebody else looking at, ooh, look what you did with your thing, what we
With
get.
your raggedy ass
Oh,
life.
look, ooh. Okay, imagine. Okay, check this out. Just flow with me just here for a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Imagine these bodies are like space vessels, right? That we
Mm-hmm.
get to inhabit as sentient beings, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when they give you the vest, that you tell the people, other people call it God, whatever you call it, you tell the people, give me the body. I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna do it right. Just see, I'm gonna
Right.
make it right. I'm gonna do a
I'm gonna
journey.
make it pop.
I'm gonna make other people want to come get a body,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm gonna make other energy in the universe gravitate towards this entity, so it can come get it a body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then when I'm come up next to you talking about, oh, look what you done did with your body. Look what you did with your journey. And they either saying, oh, look what you did with your journey. Or it's like, dang, this what you did with your journey? And so it's
That's all you done did.
this all you done did with the energy that they put into your flesh build space vessel. That's all you did with it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Okay, so when somebody come up next to you and say, "Hey, man, I think you did good with your space time mass energy. I think you did pretty good with that. You. I can see somebody looking at what you did with yours and go up and try to sequester enough energy in oneself to inhabit a form of body itself.
Mm-hmm.
I see that, and I can tell because you got kids, bro. You got kids. You got
Yeah.
kids, so that means
Yes.
somebody said, "Hey, that's a worthwhile endeavor right there." So I'm glad, Vaughn, that you can hear it, you can embrace it, and you can keep pushing with it. It's fuel, ain't it? When people tell you
Yes.
shit like that, it's literally uh like the nitro to the space machine that you inhabiting. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
All right. I'm gonna leave that alone.
No, you're fine. So you know, it is definitely a vibe. I guess that's what the kids say. But no, it is. It's definitely fuel. It's definitely a reminder that I am not alone either. That folks are watching, regardless of what I think or not. So I hope that I stay on point for them, also for myself. Um, it is one of those things where it reminds me too just how long and how far I've come, you know, crossing over that 50 marker and into now that 50 plus space, and seeing cats, talking to cats, interacting with cats that I've known for 30 plus years, 40 plus years, some of them even um, 50 plus years. One of my friends, I've literally known this cat ever since we were in Pampers. And I ran across him some years ago now, but it hadn't been that long, in Vegas. Just by dumb luck, if you will. I call it universal blessing, but it was dumb luck. I literally was walking up the strip, and he saw me before I saw him, and he called me by my nickname, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. First off, there's only a couple of people around that know that name. And secondly, why you saying that in public, dog? So when I caught who it was, I was like, oh snap. And we just embraced, and we've been connected yet again ever since. But yeah, man, it's lovely. It really is. It really is. My baby boy called me. I got Thomas Berry and joined us. I'm gonna let him get in. My baby boy called me the other day, and I think this wasn't the first time, but it was the first time I believe that it registered with me that in January all of my children will be 30 or greater. And listening to this cat talk to me and us have a very open fatherly exchange, because now he has children, and for us to laugh and joke and just be in this space, I'm sorry, on that type of time, I actually let my shoulders down a little bit and was like, damn, this is where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in this position. I wanted to be in a position where my children call me and we just talk. They ain't calling to beg all the damn time, even though that happens every now and again. But they ain't calling to beg all the time. They calling just to talk, and we can chop it up. We can laugh, and we can talk trash, and respectfully, obviously, because I'm still dad. But we can talk trash, and we can reminisce on some time, some days of old, and I can sit back and be like, I did okay. I did okay. It Rodney surprised me. I don't know if I ever shared this with you all. Rodney surprised me year maybe two ago. So we riding, and he says, so look, at my funeral, when you give the eulogy, what you gonna say? And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What you mean? When I give the eulogy? Oh yeah, you doing my eulogy? What? Huh? Oh, okay. Seriously? Absolutely. As a freaking heart attack. Family already know. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay. I had no idea. Had absolutely no idea. You know, but I was already on that road of making sure mine was done. Not because I'm a Virgo and I don't think anyone can do it better than that. Because there are people that can. But I know I wanted certain things in mind that people may not feel comfortable with. Like my youngest, she ain't my baby sister, but the one older than that, she's going to be the loudest person in the room, and she's going to be late, and it's okay. I want her called out for both of those things, because she is going to be the absolute loudest person in the room, and she is going to be the latest person in the room. That's just what she does, and I need that acknowledged because it would have come from me, and I need to give her that level of comfort that I'm okay. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And I don't think anyone else would have written that unless it was me. So I did it to make sure it was in there. And I actually told her about it. I was like, yo, you know, you are in my eulogy. You are the opening bit of my eulogy. It's an apology to everybody because we had to start late because your ass was late, but you're the last person here. It is what it is. And you know, she was like, "You stupid." I said, "No, I'm me." And she's like, "Yeah, you're right," because I probably would be late and the last person in the row without a doubt. It's okay. It is absolutely okay. But again, and I've said this more than once, you know, I want to recognize the space and time that I'm in. And the space and time that I'm in at this point, I've heard people say big old at big age. I don't see that. I don't see myself saying that. At this point in life, um, I see myself being extremely reflective, yet extremely appreciative. You know, I've said this to you all publicly and privately. This is no small feat that we do. Getting up, being prepared, be it fully or not, shooting from the hip sometimes, is a whole lot to do week in and week out. The commitment that we've made to one another, to those who watch live and later, is nothing to be laughed at. It's not a small task. I've heard people say to me, especially even more so recently, you know, I've learned more about what's going on from you all show than I ever thought I would. I've learned more about what's going on now than I learned when I watched the news. And that's a part of it, right? I'm a sponge. Tom's a sponge. Rashi's a sponge. Um, Rodney's a sponge. We take all this crap that goes on, we filter it, and then we give it back to you. And that's what it's about. It's about not limiting your scope of information, but bringing some good stuff to you, so you see the pieces and you can put the puzzle together and then make your choices based off the puzzle. That, you know, doesn't have to be our puzzle. At least we just give you a piece, and then hopefully you're motivated to go out and get another piece. And you know, we may give you a quarter of a piece, and then you go out and get three more pieces, and the three quarters of that one piece we gave you, and there's oh snap, and then the puzzle is there. Then you make your own choices. But that's where it is. That's where it is. Morning, brother Barry. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. And yourself?
Well, thank you. How was your speaking engagement this morning?
Man, you know what? It was right on time. I needed that engagement with those elders. I'm probably gonna go back and uh do there every third Saturday. And
Okay.
I may not do it frequently, but I will go back. Just to be around that level of fellowship with older black men, um, you know, that are my father's age or older, that still kind of got that juke joint, even though it was in the church. They were talking trash to each other, and I was cracking up laughing. But it was a lot of wisdom in the room, and there was a lot of different men, a lot of different pastors, as well as ministers from different denominations. And
Shots out the wisdom,
shout out to
because we
who?
all need wisdom. We all need a little bit of that in our lives. We all need a little wisdom in our lives.
My bad. My bad. You said wisdom. Let's not shot. Yeah. Anyway,
I
uh,
said we need wisdom in our lives. We need we need.
I know, I know, but you know, my lady friend
Oh,
is her
dang.
name is Wisdom too. So I'm like, no, let's not do that today. Uh, um,
Lee, you starting stuff.
What am I look. I'm just work. You know.
no, shout outs to her. But I'm just saying that whole situation with those brothers. I got a photo yesterday that my cousin Brett. Shout out to my cousin Brett Hawkins. He shared a photo with my father. I'm in this group with my family members on both sides of the family. We all got a group, but on my dad's side of the family, they post these photos all the time.
That's what's up.
And
That's hot.
I got this thing I probably from my pops where he didn't take a lot of photos, so I don't take a lot of photos. So it's like me and Rodney, those photos that you saw at the gala, that's the most I take photos. I usually don't. My cell phone,
Right? Right. The last ones was what we took in Vegas, right,
Yeah,
Tom?
yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't take a lot of
What
photos.
is that? I have it too. Clearly, I have it. But I mean, it's not just it's something internal. It's not that we don't think we are. Thomas, you know you're not an unattractive man. It's
Oh,
not about an aesthetics thing.
oh, it's definitely not
It,
that.
it,
It's not that at all.
I was like, do I think the camera gonna steal my soul like an old foolish Native American or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Never mind.
No, 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 no. You know, for me, I think that
She on to something.
I think the
She
reason
on to something.
I think the reason why I don't do it is because I be too busy in the moment. And
There
when
you go.
you in the moment, you don't really think about it. If somebody else take a photo of me, like I'll take the photo, but pulling out my phone and doing it, and really to be honest with you, I'm a great cheerleader. I got a phone full of pictures of this woman and her children and my children. I ain't got no photos of me. Like when it comes up, like it's me with them. It ain't. I don't have a lot of photos, and if I am, I'm in a car like Lee. I'm taking a photo of myself just because I like my hat for the day or my shirt for the day, but it ain't because of anything else. And no, I don't. I don't think I'm. You know, it ain't about aesthetics. I know these chicks like me, so I know that's all right. You know what I'm saying? But outside of that, though, but I want to tie the photo of my father back to these guys because since my father passed away, and
Well,
I talked
I
about it.
would like to tell you, fellas, that you looked fantastic. I was like, okay. The suits were crispy. Y'all looked well oiled and anointed. Somebody had got the knuckles tight. It wasn't no ashy knuckles or nothing. Y'all was looking on point. You represented our own voices
Yeah,
and Real Radio and the NAACP and 12 watch as proper
Philando's Pantry.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry. I done got old in my old age.
It's okay.
Philando's Pantry, and the Gathering, and you have represented these entities quite nicely. And the only thing we need is to keep uh cross. Fuck, I hate this old shit.
pollinating.
Cross
Yeah, it was like
pollinating.
pollinating.
Damn, because you know what I'm saying? This is ridiculous. I'm gonna have to
Nah,
start
it's all
drinking
right.
more and more just to get to slow the brain down. We're gonna have to make sure that the intellectual efforts and works that we are negotiating in one part of our lives have some bearing and weight in the other entities and institutions that we have joined so that we're not one uh, serving two masters and two uh, not taking advantage of all those chances that we have to do things like Philando's pantry.
Pantry.
Okay,
So,
so
so
that's what this old ass brain was trying to say 10 seconds ago.
it, it's okay. So that's a good point. Thomas, I want you to finish the story about your father's picture though.
Yeah, so I was sitting there thinking about my father seeing that photo, and my thing was my father. I always say to people, my brother Nick, shout out to him. He sent me this thing with Steve Harvey talking about how when his father passed away, there was nobody else to tell him that they were proud of him. And
Yes.
and I was
Yes.
happy that he saw it because one of the things that when my father passed away, the first thing I told Nicole, I said, my number one cheerleader is dead. My father was my number one cheerleader. My father had my back. My father would literally call me out of the blue and just be like, hey, whatever it is you're working on, man, you can do it. He never gave me a can't do spirit, and it's tough because you would think other people would be in positions to cheer you on more. But that's what a father does. A father is always encouraging, always telling you to tackle that hill. So looking at that photo and then turning around, because this wasn't planned. I just got asked to do the engagement on, I want to say Thursday, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. And so being asked to do it last second, and then being able to do it, it was like a gift from it's like a gift from God, if you will. Being able to
She be
do it,
blessing us.
and I was telling my brother Mujasi on my way over here before I hopped on. I said, brother Rodney's the only brother that I talk to who's around my father's age, I mean, it's political, but it's not political. And what I mean by that is we talk politics here, but it's more on a brotherhood thing. Some of the elders that I deal with here in the Twin Cities, They're not necessarily elders. Like I said, they trying to sleep with the same age of women I'm trying to sleep with.
Dang.
They're trying to. I mean, I'm serious. Like, because that's not. They can't when they can't be your elders if they're trying to sleep with your peers. They just can't be elders. Like
True that.
you can't give no man the eldership if y'all hunting the same, you know. And then on top of that, political like brother Rodney is always straight lace. And I felt like I was in this basement eating breakfast and doing this presentation with these elder men, and it was straight lace. Like they all who they are. They were talking the way they talk. I was laughing because they were like cutting up on each other, but they was just Christian pastors, but they were sincere, and the energy was sincere, and it was the same energy my father would bring to the table. My pops, he was a Virgo, just like both of you brothers. So my pops, straightforward. If he tell you it is what it is, he ain't gonna do a lot of arguing. Ain't gonna do a lot of talking. He gonna say it
Nope.
one time. But that if you don't get it past that, that's all on you. He ain't got no time to do all that. See, I'm an Aquarius like my mother. She gonna argue. Aquarius is gonna argue. My, my pops would be like, man, hey, listen, I done told you once, twice, to move me to say it twice. No, that was the conversation in there. So I say that to say we need to make sure as men that we are putting ourselves in that situation where we're around our elders a lot more. Because I do feel, as I told them, don't be shocked by seeing a lot of young fools if they can get wise counsel from you wise owls. Like part of the issue is that we don't get that counsel. I somebody suggested or asked me to go, not suggested, they asked me to go to speak because I was requested. However, I would have never known that they do this breakfast every third Saturday, and they're moving around for different denominations around the Twin Cities. So it's not just Minneapolis, they're in St. Paul. It's not just black churches, they got white churches there too. And so they're having these dialogues, and I'm like, dang, man, I'm glad I got chosen to go. That's to leave it there. I'm just glad I got chosen.
Hey man, that sounds awesome, dog. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad they chose you too, and I'm definitely glad you were able to show up and show out for them because you never know where the blessing's going to come from. And as you said, sitting in a room full of elders, there's a whole lot of potential of blessing up in there for real.
No doubt.
Um, uh, don't want to go too far. Don't want to go into it yet. Rodney, we were having a conversation, and you were asking about not necessarily our status, but how folks are passing the buck about doing something in this time of uncertainty. Uh, did you take that to the gathering, and did you all get anything out of that when you were there?
So, good morning, everybody. Um, Sister Rashi was talking about Brother Barry and how handsome he was, but did y'all look at those shoes? And the brother's shoes was Lee. He was had shoes like you. So the brother was top from literally from head to toe. And oh, by the way, Brother Barry, there's going to be a pallet of Saratoga water coming at you this time, especially for you.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna be on it. I'm gonna be on it.
Uh, but yeah, what I did was I went to the gathering last night, and when I got there, the gathering is always about blackness, but it's open to anybody. And since the colonizers seem to always come early, when I got there was earlier, and it was more colonizers than black people. Matter of fact, I think it might have been two, maybe three black people, and the rest of them are colonized. So I thought this was a great time just to ask them, what are we doing? And that was the question I kind of presented to Lee, was I just put it to them, what are we doing? And I said, because now we do have more colonizers here. I said, for white people, I said, the problem is white people. And so what are we doing? What are you doing? Uh, and so they said, well, what do you mean? Individually or as a group? I said, both. I said, we always been told that the racists and the white supremacists is a small minority. But I said, even still, we had slavery, we had Jim Crow with that small minority. and now we're going back to something worse. So what do we do? What are you doing? And it was a reflective moment for them, to be quite honest.
Mm.
And when I also says, black people have saved us forever, saved this country time and time again. I said,
Mm.
but this is that one time where I don't think we have what it takes to save us. And I said, we'll be a part of it, but what are we doing? What are you doing? And so some of them took time to think about it. And they said, on a personal note, they said coming to the gathering kind of showed them how much they didn't know. And because, and in some cases, it's been a mirror to them, to themselves. And they said when they looked at themselves, they saw how corrupted they were.
Mm.
They said how much history that they didn't know. So I
Mm.
asked them if they had known the history that they've known since coming to the gathering, if they could always bring a book for them to read. And I have to admit, they've read more books than any other group.
Mm.
And they said then life would have been different for them. And instead of at this age of discovery, he said it would have been earlier, or maybe they would have never been on the white supremacist side. And some of them acknowledge that their behaviors, their actions was racist.
Mm.
And in some cases, it was from the white supremacist playbook. But they said a lot of it had to do with how they grew up, who they was around, their families.
Mm-hmm.
And they said when they went to school kind of reinforced what they got at home. So until they actually started meeting black people,
Mm.
not just hey, but actually meeting and talking to black people, that's when it sort of planted a seed that maybe there's something more than what they had been exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they said they've realized they have a role to play that they're ill equipped to play, that they need to equip themselves as quick as possible to play their role. And they need to play their role. They said, but to be honest, they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I got out of it, Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, um, as I opened the show with, this is a very unique time for us. This is a time in which mm, most of the country has been impacted by the decisions of the executive branch and the judicial branch and the legislative branch. I don't know if there's ever been a time in our nation's history when most of the country have been impacted adversely by all three at the same time. Usually, as I said earlier, it's usually black folks whom are taking the brunt of what's going on. But this go around, it really is everybody. And those are very tough times to slay through, but we will get through it. You know what I'm saying? We will get over it and we will get through it. What we're going to look like on the other side is the question that we must answer. I'm not saying sit on your hands and do nothing to resist in the moment, to prepare yourself in the moment, to be mindful that anything can happen in this moment. But I am saying that it is human nature for us to adjust, adapt, and overcome. You know what I'm saying? And again, what we look like at on the other side is the huge unknown right now. And that's very scary for a number of people. What we're trying to do, because I heard this from a couple of people this week, we're not trying to scare anybody, but we're trying to make you aware that you need to be prepared for what may come.
Yeah.
And those things are just wise regardless of the outcome, right? Federal judge in Alabama just ruled that redistricting has to happen in the county that encompasses Birmingham because black folks were sashed basically in just two districts. But Birmingham is 40% black. How? So you telling me all 40% of these people live in these two districts? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So that has to happen. and I will follow that story closely, especially since I'm extremely close to Birmingham now. But we've already seen the fight in Texas. The Republicans, because they are in control, they won that fight. The Democrats did what they could do. They left, but eventually they were forced to come back. Abbott has not given up on that. He is still pissed about that. He is still going over those folks, going after those folks, I'm sorry, whom fled the state in order to refuse the Republicans a quorum to push these measures forward. We know what's going on in California. The voters will have their final say in that redistricting as it hits the ballot. We know Missouri's in play. We know
Yeah,
potentially.
that's what I wanted to tell you here in Kansas City.
Mhm.
They're doing their best to get rid of our councilmen, our representatives and whatnot, brother Emmanuel Cleaver Sr. And so it's not. So when you talk about this gerrymandering or redistricting, this is the new word for the overall concept of not just gerrymandering, but also its little sister, gentrification. When you start talking about this, it's not hypothetical or theoretical. I need our listeners to know we're talking about a behavior that's affecting even the people that are broadcasting right now. So in Missouri, they want to dilute actual Kansas City and some of our prominent suburbs of Lee Summit, Grandview, and Hickman Mills. That's what I'm saying. Hickman Mills. I'm sorry. And they want to spread all that population that, like you said earlier, that deep, heavily Afrocentric populations and spread it all the way into farmland in middle Missouri. It goes all the way into Missouri, almost like a knife, all the way in. And I suspect the Connect is trying to connect us with the prison population we have because Missouri is one of the heaviest privatized prison states there that exist. Almost every small town in Missouri has a private uh, maximum to minimum security prison. And so I believe if we dig into this redistricting a little bit, some facet of it is this reoccurring theme of having to eventually give prisoners one back their vote, two, and then find a way to encompass that prisoner vote with the in a population so that it'll dilute the power of the centralized black vote. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done, brothers, about why they are drawing the lines the way we see they are drawing the lines, right? We accept that there's lines being drawn, yes, but we don't understand quite why the lines stop here, why they look like a jagged knife on this particular map. And it's not, please believe me, it has nothing to do with major roadways or highways or cutting through it. That's not it. It's something more malignant that's being manifested here in how they are doing this. Not just that they are doing this, but I don't know where to find the information on the parameters they're using on how to determine a redistricting because it's not uniform. That's one of the things we need to worry about. There's no uniform. We have to encompass more schools, or we have to say their prison population counts, or there is no pamphlet. It's just a bunch of people, and I ain't gonna say what color they are. I ain't doing all that. With a particular agenda, with a particular plot of land in a particular state that want to do a particular thing vote wise. And each state and even in one state, you can have multi different groups redistricting for multi different. There's no reasoning that I could find on why they are drawing lines where they have decided the line should be drawn because these are secret meetings being had by miniature captains of industry who decide what, with a politician somewhere, congressman or representative, and they decide where they think the power would be either most concentrated for them or the most diluted for others. And
But
then, and even though we're seeing it as a population, we're not asking any of the people making the decisions why. Where are the interviews with the gerrymanderers? Where are the interviews with the people who are in charge of drawing the new redistricting line? Somebody help me with that.
well, you say you don't understand why. The why is the maintenance of power. That's the why. The maintenance of control. That's the why. You said that the interviews. Well, they ain't speaking. You know, most criminals don't tell you why they rob somebody, and they dang sure ain't gonna tell you why they doing the robbery. So those interviews are very few, far in between. Ever gonna happen? Doubt it very much. Anybody else got anything to add to that one?
So I want to give a shout out to my home state of Indiana. And I want to give a shout out because we supposed to be these racist groups of rednecks. That's what they say about the white folks there. But them white folks there didn't even want to do. They didn't want to gerrymander the vote. They were cool where the districts were at. But what they were told was that if they say no, that agriculture dollars from the federal government was going to be withheld from them. Keep that in mind. And a lot of people in a lot of other places, maybe even in Missouri, maybe that's not what they want to do. It's the conversation of a president who's using executive orders to do things that the Congress is supposed to do. This is a Mike Johnson problem.
Mm.
This is a Mike Johnson problem. He's a speaker. And this goes back to what I said a year ago about helping him out instead of letting him die. Because, we're a bunch of walking dodo birds, thinking we're smarter than what we are. Just bury your head into the dirt with your ass sticking up so somebody can chop your neck off.
Or do something else with what's sticking up.
Well, but that's what happened with the dodo bird because they could sell your feathers for cheap. And we haven't learned that politically. When Mike Johnson was dying off and they were in disarray, they should have let the Republicans stay in disarray. They should have let the racists of the racists of the conservatives take that spot because nobody would have heard Project 2025 clearly.
Mm.
But the Democrats had a soft spot. So when Rashi asked why, it is about race. It's about white supremacy. And it's about us not having that conversation and trying to intellectualize everything else except the white supremacy that we're seeing. And not letting them move from the fact that they are a bunch of racists. I don't even need to get to fascism. I'm just going to call you a racist because that's what you are. When you give Charlie Kirk a holiday, those 95 Democrats who voted with the Republicans, you're a racist too. Those few members of the Congressional Black Caucus that voted for that holiday, you're a racist too. This is the conversation we ran from because y'all wanted to have a conversation about patriarchy and matriarchy. You wanted to talk about every goddamn thing else except white supremacy because many of you wanted to lay with the white man or you wanted to lay with the white woman. You let your sexual deviancy rule what was the most things that your ancestors laid down for you. And you try to intellectualize it. You try to make yourself seem smart. But what we're seeing is right now we got a bunch of political jackasses. And they don't know which way to go. They don't know which way to go. They don't know if they want to go the Cory Booker route or they want to go the Jasmine Crockett route. I think we should probably go the Jasmine Crockett route. I think you need to call a snake a snake.
They not the same route.
Hell no, it's not the
No,
same route.
no,
Jasmine Crockett, Hakeem Jeffries,
No,
Cory Booker, AOC.
no,
no.
no.
It's some more dissenters. Okay, Al Green.
Dissent,
Well,
dissenting and dissenting for the right reasons are two different things.
there you go.
And once again, we're allowing people to siphon off the true issue. If you go with AOC, you go with Cory Booker, you're gonna be talking about some Van Jones type mess. If you go with Jasmine Crockett, you're just gonna talk about a spade is a spade. This is what this is about. Why is it that inside of Texas, one district is 500 miles? That don't even begin to make sense. It does not represent the people inside of Texas, right? And so that's the conversation that we need to have. And when Rodney's having the conversation at the gathering with white folks, the conversation that we need to have online is about racism and white supremacy. And the Democrats don't want to walk it back because for so many years they had us talking about Me Too and all of these other things. We allowed these blonde haired, blue eyed white women to walk up and hijack the conversation at a time when Obama had just made president, at a time where you could have made some serious black gains. They pulled the same move that the woman suffrage movement with Susan B. Anthony pulled on Frederick Douglass. And we ran with it. And it was us. And I'm going to close and land on this. 7 years of black girl magic. And they came in and the first things they went and they took the magic away. And I said it then, I'll say it now. The black man, the black woman, the black child cannot rise without each other. What the hell is magic without the power that keeps the magic on? They forgot about black power. They ran with black magic. You have black female activists who are getting endorsement deals from Cadillac. Could you imagine Fannie Lou Hamer getting a damn endorsement deal from Cadillac or Ford to speak truth to power? Colin Kaepernick and Nike. Could you imagine Muhammad Ali and those guys talking about
Converse or Adidas.
and Converse and Adidas? This is what happened. So we got new age activism with Cory Booker and Hakeem Jeffries versus old school tactics, straight bold to your face with Jasmine Crockett. And if black folks are going to survive, and even if white folks are going to survive, because America may not survive the democracy the way that it is now, democracy has to change now. She has to change her dress. She has to put on some pants now. Because what we've learned is that they've studied the loopholes in the Constitution, and you got to close those things up because when the wind blows, we're finding out she has no underwear on up under.
I like that. I like that analogy. I said earlier, gentlemen, that sadly, Trump is going to be known either as the president that saved America because he. So let me finish. Let me finish because he brought us
Ain't
to the
cra-
brink,
Tell them
and
about
we
it. He created
recognized
it.
that we were at the brink, so we put ourselves back together. Or he tore us apart so daggone far that he completely destroys America. He's going to be known as one of the two. Sad but true. That is the talk of tomorrow year is going to be how Donald Trump either saved America because he was the ugly face that could be, or that he tore it apart because he was the ugly face that was. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be one of the two. He's either going to be the boulder that stops the crumbling or the cornerstone that helps put the country back together. And that's what it is. In future times, I can see those conversations happening about this dude.
Well, he's
Not as a
learning. He's
savior.
learning now. He's over in England to learn how to fully, properly dictate.
Nah, well,
So
he's on
we'll
his way
see.
back to Arizona now.
Oh, he's back in
He
Arizona.
said how to fully properly dictate. No, he's on his way back to
Well, I
Arizona
mean,
now.
if you're going to rule, you have to go and get lessons. Everybody know you got to go to your cotillion lessons.
Mm,
So you go and you learn how to which fork to use, and
right.
how not to tell people that they might, used to be a man, and how
Mm,
stuff like that.
okay. Well, let's get to it now that the balloon has been popped. First topic off rip. Jimmy Kimmel, freedom of speech.
Mm.
So this week, Kimmel got pulled, suspended from ABC. Now, The reason he's been suspended, anybody's guess is that the initial affiliate said that he made. Let me see. I wrote it down so I didn't get confused. Um,
It's
he
Epstein.
made. He was
He won't
trying
be
to
making jokes.
characterize the mega gang, and specifically Tyler Robinson, as anything other than one of them. That was his comments, and because of that, he was pulled. Now, the curious thing about this is in NRAV Vulo, SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, ruled that a government official cannot coerce a private party to punish or suppress disfavored speech on their behalf. Now, what happened here? FCC Chair Brandon Carr suggested that Kimmel had contributed to a concerted effort to try to lie to the American people. Isn't it lovely how they always invoke the American people while doing anything and everything against what most American people would want to do? Um, he said uh, he said this speaking at a public speech. And as the FCC, who has control over broadcast licenses issued to local station using public airwaves, he lamented that companies could do correct this. I'm sorry, either the hard way or the easy way. They could find ways to change conduct and take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC. Now, apparently, Nexstar is looking to merge with think it, I think you pronounce it Tegan, and they need FCC approval. This will give them control of 265 stations across 44 states. I am very concerned about that merger. These folks are already looking for favor from the government and are willing to bend to the government's whim in order to get that favor. What happens when the government, specifically this government, calls that favor back in? What happens when this government wants to pump out falsehoods that everybody knows is false? But because they allowed this merger to go through, Nexstar is then compelled to push whatever narrative out across those 265 stations in those 44 states that this current administration and government wants to be heard or wants to be played. Going back to Brother Barry's comment much earlier in the year, and again around the time of the election, when he said it's all about playing the algorithm, right? So the more people hear something, the more people see something, the more they believe it. Even when you have the facts on your side to show them or tell them that what they've seen or what they heard is false. Very difficult to change people's minds. I don't know what 44 states they operate in, but let's just go to our understanding of how the Republican machine purchased airwaves, radio specifically, in middle America and pumped out their message time and time and time and time again via these airwaves. What happens when, again, you have someone in your pocket now that owes you favor because you granted them a merger? They have 265 stations over 44 states. What happens when you want to pump out some vileness again? Do they say no? Or do they remember that you have control over their licenses? What you say, Rodney?
I say that earlier you said making it through, and it made me think about the people in North Korea, the people in Russia, China, Iran, Cuba. I guess they're still going through because I don't think they're on the other side of through. There is no making it through. Once it starts, a dictator doesn't stop. And very seldom are dictatorships overthrown, especially when they have the backing of the military, which is yet to be seen with this one. Um, I just think that if you understand, this goes back to the Neely Fuller quote that I'm going to change a little bit. But if you don't understand fascism, any and everything I say, it'll just confuse you. Because what you're seeing is the basics of how fascism works. Because fascism is the conflation of government and business. It's that simple. And the power and control. How does the government control business to give it more power to exert its will over the populace? And what we're seeing is textbook formation of fascism in America on a broader scale, because fascism has always been here when it was associated with Native Americans and Black people. We've always lived under a fascist state to a certain degree. But now, and this is why I asked the group and specifically white people on what are we doing, is because, see, we understand what it feels like. They don't. This is new to them. This is a shock to their system. So they're almost paralyzed because of what's happening. So I believe when you take your First Amendment right, it's the First Amendment for a reason, because it's the underpinning of all of the other rights that we have. And this is not just about Kimball or Fallon or Colbert. Teachers in local districts are being fired. Think about that. That's directly against the First Amendment. So once you lose it, we're not able to ask North Koreans, the Chinese, or the Russians, or Iranians, Cubans. We're not able to ask them how do they feel about it, because they don't have the ability to share it with us, because they're not allowed to express themselves. There's very little dissent because the government puts down dissent. And in order for that power and control to work, an authoritarian's main tool in their tool chest is fear. And what you're seeing now is a chilling across media, especially news outlets, because they're fearful that either the individual will be fired or the owners, the corporate entity, will be penalized. And they're making a decision that it's easier for them to go along to get along. And that fear, that main tool for that power and control, is spreading, and we are allowing it to spread. And what it also says is that they're more afraid of him than the people. And maybe we, the people, need to change that paradigm.
Well, how do we go about that though? Especially when, as you said so eloquently, it's a joint effort between government and business for power grab in this economy that's so service based. How, are boycotts the answer to some of these businesses? And if you go that okay, if you go that way, I'll circle back to Thomas Berry's point. Thomas Berry's point is very valid right now. Unfortunately, we have allowed too many companies to buy out other companies, to merge, to grow too daggone big. So if we boycott you, what are our options based off of our income? Because these folks ain't stupid. You're absolutely right. They have kept us under tow, especially with our wages. So we have very few options of places to go other than back to them. The perception of competition on the shelf is just that, a perception. Have you all ever taken the time? I'm a nerd like this, to flip around just laundry detergent. If you look at laundry detergent, there's a perception that it's so many companies. Dog, it's like three: Palmolive, Unilever, and who makes Arm and Hammer? It's something Brothers. Palmolive,
Procter and
Unilever.
Gamble. 'Cause, 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 'c
No, I think it's Douglas and somebody. It's a D.
Look,
It'll
my
come to
answer
me.
to everything now is Blackstone. Blackstone. I
But
don't say
I'm just
nothing but
saying,
Blackstone.
Dwight and Church. I think it's Dwight and Church. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for the conversation. Again, there's a perception that it's like 10, 12 different damn companies that make laundry detergent. Dog is three. Hell, it actually might be two because they may have left the name Palmolive on something, and that's probably owned by Unilever, to be honest with you, or one of the daggone others. I'll do some research. I'll get back to you and let you know. But that's with almost everything on the shelf. There is a perception of competition. They put it out there, they set it up, it looks all pretty, and you're like, oh man, yeah, well I can buy this because that's different than that. Man, it's the same damn people. I went up in a store the other day and I'm looking because I'm getting close to needing laundry detergent again, right? So I'm like, man, I need some laundry detergent. Then I'm like, well, do I want to try the what's the pods, right? I'm like, do I want to try the pods or do I want some more liquid? Because I like the liquid versus the powder and stuff. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, hell, this is a white label brand, but the actual brand is right next to it. There's very little difference in the pictures on the damn thing. Like I ain't stupid. This is who makes that. You know, these cat make that. And depending on what store you go to, more and more stores are doing white labeling because it's just more cost effective for them. You know, what I mean, it's 100% more cost effective for them, and the active ingredients are usually just a percentage here and a percentage there different. That's it. You know, so you're getting basically the exact same thing, but $3, $4 cheaper, maybe a dollar two more, maybe a dollar two less. It just works out better for every day. But to boycott. So if we go and we boycott, doesn't matter the organization. Let's say we boycott them. Then where in the heck else do we go? I know you've done some great work in Vegas, Rodney, with Costco. You've encouraged folks to come out. You've had folk donate so folks can get a membership. And I know Costco has been very supportive of DEI. Okay, cool, lovely. You know I love Costco. That is definitely my spot. One of the greatest differences between Costco, Sam's, and or BJ's, honestly, is location. Costco is a great value. Sometimes they are so dang far away that it just doesn't make sense. And getting folks, especially in our time now, motivated to move beyond a 10-minute drive is very difficult. You know, folk, especially nowadays, are very short sighted and narrow minded about a whole lot. And commuting is definitely high on their list. And yet, everything seems to be moving further and further away, including them damn selves. How you gonna live in the woods and then you gonna talk about, well, I want everything to be 5, 10 minutes away from the house? How that work? That don't make no damn sense. Go ahead, sir.
So I want to jump in. First thing I want to say is I said sexual deviancy. I meant to say sexual appetite. I want to make sure I say that when I was talking about people's choices. I don't want to say anyone's being sexually deviant. That's not what I meant because somebody will clip it and run with it. But I meant sexual appetite. That's why we talked about patriarchy versus matriarchy, whatever the case may be. This situation and this topic, it just boils down to not the corporations. It boils down to the politicians enforcing the laws that's already on the books. We got monopoly laws for a reason. And as what was warned after the Jimmy Fallon suspension about lawyers having to be on retainer once the Democrats do take leadership, because they're saying that the FCC and they're hinting to other politicians benefiting from these deals. You know, when you talk about Donald Trump either is going to bring America back together or break it apart, part of this is some of the decay happened before Donald Trump. We're still living with the remnants of some of the things that George Bush did. And the reason why I always go back to the monopoly laws, because I remember when they broke up Ma Bell in the 90s, when they said the Ma Bell companies were too big. and they made Pacific Bell, Northwestern Bell, Midwest Bell, all those Bell's companies, Southern Bell. The Bell companies had to be split apart, and AT&T bought some, and other, we had Quest and other people bought the Ma Bell companies because they said in Congress it was a monopoly. They were too big to fail. Almost like what we heard when they had to bail out some of those Wall Street banks, right? Too big to fail. Lee, is not really about where the people live at. It's not even about Costco's. What it's about is the politicians. And if Americans just understood the laws, and if they asked more questions, better questions of these politicians, stop letting these politicians talk to you about low hanging fruit. They're going to talk about gun violence. They're going to talk about health care. They're going to talk about abortion rights, transgender rights. They're going to talk about immigration, right? These are the things that they typically can, mouth with their eyes closed. But when you start asking about corporations, and if you start asking if you enforce the monopoly laws, wouldn't that mean that we would have more jobs? Wouldn't it also mean if we had more jobs, we'd have more Americans spending revenue? And if we had more Americans who have more jobs spending revenue, would that mean that would mean it would be less money for the billionaires? Yes, it would be. They would have to sell off part of their companies. And what we're seeing with the situation with the merger of some of these affiliates with ABC, they went after Jimmy Kimmel because of that. And that's really what it boiled down to. It was about them bowing to the president and bowing to the FCC chief so that they can have a merger, which is going to cost more Americans jobs. There's no favors is going to be done with these mergers. Somebody's are about to lose jobs. We've made it so polite in how we talk about how these billionaires are violently tearing families apart. And Bob Iger over there at ABC / Disney, his reputation is going to be trash because he gave in because of George Stephanopoulos. Now he's giving in because of Jimmy Kimmel. Well, guess what, y'all? A bully always wants more. If I know you a punk, I'll be back to punk you for more.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mickey Mouse is a punk. That's what that boils down to. Mickey Mouse is a punk. And so they're going to take advantage of it. And I'll say it again. This goes directly to the politicians. On a side note, when I learned about how a bill is passed in Congress and some of the other stuff that I learned growing up as a young lad watching Saturday morning cartoons, it was right
Get the bill.
It was right there.
Sitting alone on the steps of Capitol Hill.
ABC with Schoolhouse Rock. That was on ABC with Schoolhouse Rock. Go look at some of those old school commercials with that. That's an ABC product. Now just imagine the dumbing down of Americans. Starting with, you got to start it down as a youth. And now we don't even know how the government's supposed to function. If we understood that, then we would take these politicians to task and say, no, you got to break these corporations up. And this right here with Fallon is a good sign. And by the way, Howard Dean said that's what he was going to do.
That's his man.
I keep going back to that. I keep going back to listen, y'all. I bring this up religiously.
That's his man.
Reason. I bring it up religiously for that reason. Because we have yet to have another national politician talking about what? Breaking up the media companies. It's time. It is time. Brother Jamar, can I read this comment? He said, my fault, fellas. I know I'm late to the party and I might have missed it, but can we talk about the huge elephant in the room, this dude, Charlie Kirk, and how every Republican has lost their freaking mind because he was killed, yet didn't give a damn about any Democratic politician that was stalked, shocked, or killed. Did you guys talk about that already? Did we talk about it?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lee,
So,
to back to your question about the boycotts. If money is the driving force behind our actions, then we we are doing just what Brother Barry said. We have our head in the sand and our buttocks is in the air, waiting for somebody to plug it, and somebody will continue to plug it over and over. That's what will happen if money is the driver, and if the willingness to sacrifice is not a part of the equation.
most people
Corporation,
aren't. Let's be honest in the conversation. Most
but
people
Lee is,
aren't.
but it's not about most people though. See, there is the fallacy. That is the fallacy. It does not take most people to change a thing or a system. Look at, we know that maggots are not the largest percentage of people in this country. It's a small percentage.
Right.
We know that Christian nationalists, even though they're making a lot of noise, they were actually constricting because people don't want it. Now you're gonna have that hardcore, obviously, that's not going anyplace. Yeah, we have that in every segment. But also, it has never been the majority that has changed or fixed or improved anything. There's a famous quote from Margaret Mead that spells it out. So if that's what we're waiting on, if we're allowing that to hold us back, then we're holding ourselves back. It's always been that small, committed, dedicated group of people
Yep.
that has changed the world. And it always has. And I'm paraphrasing Margaret Mead's quote. So, and that's what when I asked the gathering that question last night, that's exactly what I came back to is, if you allow in fear to control you, then you will be controlled because they have the power to inflict a lot of fear that will bring about control. So we cannot allow fear to be our driving force, just like we cannot allow money to drive us. Because if you allow money to drive us, we've lost. It's a part of it is, what are we willing to sacrifice? Because even Frederick Douglass told us, whatever you want, you're going to have to work to get it. And in working to get it means you're going to have to sacrifice something.
Right.
I'm not watching the Super Bowl this year because that's going to be my sacrifice for them putting all of those pictures and the teams doing all of that accolades and lionization of CK. I'm not doing it. Santa Fe is where the movie club. That's our movie club spot. I drove by there that night, and they had a giant, well lit, beautifully colored picture of CK. So I told our movie club group, we have to find another place to go to the movies, or else I won't be going. So we're going to have to sacrifice. It
And,
is what we're going to have to do.
and I think part of it is we're gonna have to sacrifice this public face.
Mm.
Let's be honest, y'all. This situation with Charlie Kirk, and I really sometimes I did wish I was on in the morning because I would have probably spent 2 hours just tearing him a new asshole just for religious purposes. Look, y'all, this he was a racist, and you're never gonna get me as a black man to side with a racist. If you say that we don't have the cognitive power, and they say, oh, he didn't say all black women, he just named some of the most well-educated black women. Michelle Obama is a Harvard graduate. You telling me Charlie Kirk think he's smarter than Michelle Obama? Not only Negroes that believe that is about as dumb as Charlie. We have to get to a point when they start allowing us to, when the country starts celebrating bigots in our face. And we don't even got black voices that are coming from non-political factions even talking about this. Jamal Bryant don't know shit about this. He's still talking about Target. This is what I'm talking about when I say, yeah, that's why I can't follow these folks. Because they don't, it don't click, y'all. It don't click. Some of this stuff just don't click. But they know what to say because they under George W. Bush. What they do, Rodney, they say, oh, if the churches want to talk politics, you just lose that 501c3 status.
That's it.
So now Jamal Bryant ain't gonna talk about Charlie Kirk because they politicized Charlie Kirk.
They got that FBI initiative.
So
Faith,
so
faith.
come on now. So now nobody wants to have the conversation. And then when we do have the conversation, I'm gonna be real. I never talk ill of the dead when they die. I never celebrate anybody dying. But I will tell you, if you ask me about George Washington, I'll tell you the truth about George Washington. Beyond that damn cherry tree or apple tree, whatever the hell he shot, right? I'll tell you more than the truth about him. So we have to take Charlie Kirk for what Charlie Kirk was. And we can't act like Charlie Kirk was some American hero. He was not. And then to ask anybody black to take and have these players play and then try to utilize it. Y'all didn't like Colin Kaepernick. All he did was took a knee. He ain't say much words. He took a knee against oppression. And what did Donald Trump call the players? A bunch of sons of bitches. Get them sons of bitches back to playing. Where's the holiday for Colin Kaepernick? Where's that at? How about Charlie Kirk poking fun about George Floyd and saying that he was a drug addict? Or what about George Floyd's daughter that was going to school getting bullied? Charlie Kirk don't have to have no responsibility for that. And this is what I'm talking to the Negroes who feel the need to feel sorry for Charlie Kirk. Did you feel sorry for George Floyd and what Charlie Kirk was doing to his name and his death? No, you did not. My issue with this, and really, because I heard some people locally saying, well, we don't need to talk about Charlie Kirk. We got our own issues. No, you need to talk about Charlie Kirk. Every time folks are opening their mouths, they're showing you that they're disqualified to lead.
How about the slain lawmakers in Minnesota? There was no lowering of the flag for them. There was no
Well,
holiday granted for them.
hey, because that's listen. Remember, also, wasn't there a Republican on Capitol Hill that said that he was a Democrat? Ain't that what they said about
Yeah.
that guy? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so what happened to that person? Were they censored?
Nope.
Censored at all? But Al Green got censored, right?
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Did the Democrats vote with the Republicans to censor Al Green too?
Yep.
Okay, all right. And then we got 95 Democrats who voted to get his fool a goddamn day. And we had some from the Congressional Black Caucus. I wish they just released the damn names. Because the conversation needs to happen where we're just saying,
Yeah, I was about to say that shouldn't be hard to find.
well, we should
Yeah,
get the
I
names.
thought they released them.
Well, we should get the names and we should post those names. And those 95 Democrats, somebody should be primarying against those 95. Period. I can't speak for the Republicans. Hey, listen, man. They like Mickey Mouse. They're a bunch of punks. At this point, they're going to do whatever MAGA tells them to do. But how are you on the opposing side? They're coming at your neck regardless. Regardless of the point. Whether you agree with them or not, they still coming at your neck and you still going along to get along.
Mm.
So I want to. The answer is looking us in the face every time we go in the mirror. It's us expecting Democrats to do something that Democrats have not done. Is I think resistance is futile, is what the board says.
That's
Yeah.
what they said.
They're going to do what they have been doing, and that's give in. Just like they censured Al Green, but they didn't censor Wilson. Just like they voted for this resolution for CK, but didn't do it for others. They're weak. Somebody castrated them along the way, and they're weak. The thing that's going to save us is not the politicians. It's not the politicians, and it's not the masses. The thing that's going to save us is, to be quite honest, and this is what I told them at the gathering last night. I told them the thing that's going to save us at the gathering is the people who's at the gathering. The thing that's going to save us when it comes to what we're seeing overall, to be quite honest, is the people that's on this screen. If we're not willing to do our part, whatever that part is, then it won't get done because the what are the others doing? We have so many. I think at one point we had more churches per capita than any other city, Sin City, and I suppose that's appropriate because of all the sin. But anyway, we had more churches per capita than any other city, and I cannot get one pastor to come out to lead anything for our liberation against this white supremacy, ethnos, Christian nationalist movement that the maggots have taken over the country with. So it was like when I wanted to do food, I couldn't get one church to assist me giving away food to their parishioners. So I could have said, oh no, go ahead and give the food to somebody else. Or I could figure out a way to do it myself. Brothers, sister, the saving of us is us. It is us that few. If we're not willing to do it, do you think that those other people? I listened to Brother Barry talk about how many books he's read. Now, books doesn't necessarily mean you're smart, but it is an indication that you know something more than you knew before you read the book. And he's read a whole bunch of books. So who am I going to turn to if I want to know something about my history and culture? I have a living book right here. Lee, you have a memory that is close to as good as Alex, and that's a really high bar. And so if I want to remember something, because I'm up in the years now, I leave what I can give you the example, but then you can pinpoint it. Our salvation, our salvation is us. And if we're looking someplace else, then we are lost and we won't be found because President Obama said we're the ones that we've been waiting on. We just need to start
Mm.
acting. I here's the analogy I gave the gathering. There used to be a cartoon, and it was an elephant, and sometimes the elephant would have a tutu on, and elephant's big, powerful. But when the mouse would come in the room in the cartoon, the elephant became obviously a female, and it would jump up on a chair or a desk or something, looking like the stereotype of a frightened female. And it's a little mouse. We are the elephant, and we need to get down off of that chair and stomp the HE double toothpicks out of that mouse. We
Right.
are the country, we are the power, and black people are the biggest engine of that power. We need to start acting like it. That's where our salvation comes from.
But you know what, brothers? For us collectively, and I mean this because we've had this conversation numerous times. If black folks could just figure out their personal relationships with each other
Yes.
and get out
Yes.
the minutia, we would be okay.
Yes.
For us, it does start in the bedroom. It does. No, it does because the lack of coupling. This is what this is.
Yes.
Politics. That's why they don't talk. When white folks start talking about the bills, what they doing, they start talking about middle class families, working class families. They never said nothing about middle class singles, working class singles. They don't consider them. They're not in consideration because they're not in consideration because of power. If we're gonna really dispatch and deal with institutionalized racism, white supremacy, you have to have families. You have to reproduce too, by the way.
Right.
So that's what this is about. And I feel like when I'm watching and I'm listening to us talk about everything else under the sun. Remember, this all started. We sitting this out. We got our fans and boots on the ground is a dance for us. This is what this started. Look how fast this thing has escalated. You still want to sit it out? Where's those fans at?
Mm.
Because it's getting hotter. What you gonna do now?
Rashi, I
I
did have a
think
question.
they're waiting on them to feast on each other. That's the new thing. Once we pulled back, the idea was once the conscientious black activist sat down and took a little sip of coffee, then the demons start feasting upon each other. And indeed, I mean, to some degree, you have to say, yeah, they're coming. The demons are because people who don't enjoy their time on planet Earth, they make sure to congregate with other people who don't enjoy their time on planet Earth, and it ended up being just a coalition of the unhealthy who hurt each other. And so, but if you say anything about it, the people who are with the coalition of us, they say, "Hey, leave us alone. Don't say that about us." This the truth, y'all. If you, that's what we tell young black youth at the school. Hey, hey, hey. Watch who you hanging around. Watch who you in the streets with. Watch whose house you spend the night at. Watch who you go to, kick it on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon with, 'cause Sunday morning was grandma's time. Watch, 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 watch. And we watched. So they told us to watch. We watching. And no, we should not be sitting back and watch. There's something called multitasking, Tom and Barry. There's multitasking. You can watch the demise of others while you build your own. But it looks like we ready to watch the demise of others.
Mm.
But as you said earlier, the building of our own is lacking. So what fundamentally can we be doing? I am a big fan of community centers. I think we should be investing in our community centers because those are supposed to be central hubs within a group and a community, right? All right, a group of people. We are able to understand the need because some of that hatred from neighbor to neighbor or hatred at all is based on need. And so, if we can establish what a community is for, the intrinsic need of the community, including watching children, so that adults who can work will work. So it becomes oh, you having mortgage issues? Okay, this community is being sponsored by this bank. And when we talk to that bank, they do this, or not even bank, but credit, even better,
This is
credit union,
this is
right?
let me give you an example. I was talking to these brothers at the church, and I said, if you got two people in a relationship, and one person has their own private resource, and the other person has no other private resource, you know what's going to happen with those two people in a relationship? They're going to fall out because the person who got the resource is not a mutual resource. Why do they need the other person? We're always looking for outside of what we should have inside of the house. That's the first thing. The second issue that we have collectively is this. Black women lost how many jobs since Donald Trump took office? Anybody know? I know the number, but anybody else knows?
Well, they were
No.
saying upwards of 300,000 because they were leaders of that DEI. Uh,
350,000 jobs. But it wasn't about DEI, it was about them cutting those federal jobs around the country. You can't watch people eat their own while you're getting ate at the same time. 350,000, that's that, you know what? That would have definitely, those jobs would have trumped last month's job numbers, right?
Mm,
Think about that.
no
Then,
pun intended.
then also think about the idea that we had this thing called the hippies in the 70s. Remember how the hippies were supposed to be like these radicals and they was going to take on the capitalistic, greedy white folks? And what happened to
They
those?
became they became the capitalist greedy white folks.
Yeah, because they really don't eat their own too much. What they typically do is they argue with each other, then they make peace, and then they team up with each other to go at other folks. So that's a bad idea. But that came from, once again, not a space of moving together collectively. We have to really rewire our thinking. And Rodney's point earlier about it's not about the majority. 13% of the colonies 13% of the colonies decided that they were going to buck up against Britain. It wasn't the majority. 13% did it, and everybody else got a chance to enjoy the fight of that 13%. And we're at that 13% threshold right now as black folks. Can we find 13% of us who's still not trying to go to concerts, who's still not trying to go to clubs, who's still not trying to go on vacation resorts and support pedophiles in Canada that owns those vacation resorts? What are we going to do? Because that's always the question. Rodney is 100% right. What is the sacrifices you gonna make? Stop asking everybody else to give. What are you gonna give? What are you gonna do? And if you ain't gonna give and you ain't gonna do, can you
Move out the
please
way.
just get the fuck out of the way and shut up? Can we get
So,
that out of you?
so Rashi was right. You were right. Rodney was right. But to build off where you were at earlier, Thomas, it goes to a core concept. Rocky, you said community centers. Well, first we got to build the community. First, we have to put our
Right.
guard
You
down
go
and recognize.
door to door. It is the work of the community center to establish what's happening with with the living beings within a certain district parameter. It's hard
But,
work because
but
it's
listen,
literally Jehovah Witness level, door to door work.
okay,
You either
but
or you catching them at the community. You either catching them at the local clinic. You can catch them at the local grocery store or at the school. You can catch them at the
okay,
schoolhouse.
Rashi, a number of things you said. You said local. There ain't a local. There's not a local anything anymore. That's one of the problems. Remember, these folks are going after the local clinic. They're going after the local hospital. So there's not a lot of local anything anymore. Secondly, we have to bridge the gap through our communication. I've said this, like Thomas has said what he said. We got to talk to one another. We just have to get beyond that and start communicating with one another. Then we have to, and I will not bastardize Sister Harriet Tubman's words, but we have to get other folks to recognize that they in the shit too. They in the shit too. It is not going to skip over your house just because you keep quiet. It's not going to skip over your house because of your zip code. It's not going to skip over your house because they know you around here. It's not going to do that. It's going to come your way just like it's going to come everybody else's way. And going back to where we started with the dodo bird burying the head in the sand, if you do such, you will get one of two things: either your head chopped off, or as Rodney said, something violated by the part that you have left exposed. So something is going to happen to you. And then at that point, do not come to me crying, screaming, and yelling because I already came to you as a brother saying to you, bruh, sis, we need your help. And when you said to me, screw you and everybody else, I said, okay, put a little asterisk next to your name and kept it moving. So when they come to get you, don't call for me. When they come at you, don't call for me. Why? Because you have demonstrated to me that you are a sometimey. And sometimes will be my enemy in a heartbeat, just like they're looking to be my friend. So no, I ain't fooling with you and your dumb ass. That ain't gonna happen.
Those are always the people in the scary movie that let the vampire in.
There you go, right?
The sometimey folks, the
There
folks
you go. I'm
you know,
sometimes I think they're okay. There's nothing wrong. We can go outside. What? Look,
yeah.
that's not how we operate. You know what I'm saying?
But what?
So
I do
yeah,
want to point. I want to point to this too because I think that this is very important when we talk about Charlie Kirk and all of this stuff that we're looking at and the fallout from this. Is that if you notice, they aren't breaking down. White supremacists are not breaking down the conversation by gender. There's white women that supporting this too, and they're not. This ain't a fight. They're not fighting. They're not dividing themselves. And that's the thing that I would hope that we are paying attention to when it comes to this is that Charlie Kirk was paid by a billionaire to go out and do what he was doing. They wanted the Rush Limbaugh effect on college campuses. That's why he was able to drop out of school because he ran into a pretty much a financial sugar daddy, if you will, that backed what he was doing. And that's how he got on campus. This piece of man, I just can't believe we praising this guy or anybody's praising this guy openly. And it's tragic what happened, what took place with him, right? But all of these shootings are tragic. We just had a shooting here. We've had a lot of shootings here. And I was telling Brother Rodney, we just had a homeless encampment that just got shot up, and it was 6 people shot up just earlier this week. Like there's been that if I'm not mistaken, and Jamar, you're on. I think that might have been our 3rd public shooting here in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So I'm saying this to you all because extremism is real right now, and white.
They calling it Brother Barry, white identity extremism.
Well, it's
Wait,
really
wait, wait a minute. What is white identity extremism?
Okay, so it's like, okay, so we let's talk to 3 levels. We already talked. We've been dancing around it, but we didn't identify. Look, hold on, Brother Rodney. It's the regular white dude who practices white racism pathology without just in what he buys and living where he lives like that. It's not overt like in his character, but it is his part of his identity. Then it's the second dude. He just don't like it. He's part of. He don't hire him. He's open and verbal about it, but he's not lethal or violent with it. He's just don't like. He don't like them Mexicans. He don't fool with them niggas like that. And then there's the white identity extremist who is one training his children to shoot and kill others, has a bunker with making sure that others don't get access to, lives away from any type of others, and fosters this idea that it is okay and, in fact, good to kill the others. And so they're calling it the white, because it's usually white males and their wives and children identity. Their whole identity is built into white superiority, and more importantly, the preservation of white genetic identity, and they're ready to practice their reservation of that to the extreme level of lethal violence to others who are not just white, but white understanding that they have to begin to preserve uh white genetic identity. So that's what a Y is. White identity extremist.
So, Brother Barry, I'm sorry for interrupting your point, but the reason why I did that was because when she mentioned WIEs,
Yeah.
not too long ago, there was something, and still is something called BIE, and that was Black Identity Extremists. And
Yep.
Black Identity Extremists were considered um,
Terrorist group.
a threat to the state,
Yeah, they
an
Mhm.
were a terrorist group.
enemy of the state. That was the official declaration of Black identity extremists, which would be all 4 of us represented here by definition of what a BIE was. And I was just wanting to see if this WIE had the same status as BIE,
No.
because BIE
Yeah,
is
yes, it
enemies of the
does. And
state.
if you would just, but you would just have to. And while we do have characteristics of it, Rodney, I don't know if all of us here are willing to be lethal in our violence against the others who do not identify as sympathetic to the black in America uh, oppressive.
But BIEs don't have to be violent. The definition that you gave for WIE is different from BIE.
Yeah.
BIE is represented by us right here.
Yeah.
The definition that you gave for the WIEs, you added something that's different from BIE, and that was the violence part. But I didn't want to move too far from Brother Barry's point because I think it's a salient point. But that WIE piece and is the juxtaposition to BIE.
Well, we had our fourth shooting, and our brother Jamar talked about 23 victims involved. In all of these shootings here has been white folks.
Right.
So it's not treated the same.
So
Not
white
at all.
on white crime problem, isn't it?
No,
Yeah.
because
I don't know what's wrong with them.
some of these
They're
situations,
violent.
some of these people, like in the homeless encampment, those were minority folks who got shot down, those six. So when you start, when you start looking at this stuff and you have a president and you have a DOJ and you have an FBI that don't want to look at right wings terroristic groups as what they are, they're not looking at them as the same as they were with the BIEs. They're not.
Exactly.
They're
I,
not whatsoever, because for them, those white folks are doing their bidding. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the part no one's talking about. Same thing with Charlie Kirk. See, Charlie got to be a good guy because Charlie was preaching the ideology of Project 2025, right? So
right.
he can't be a bad guy because he's speaking on our behalf. He's saying these things that when you really think about it, he's our mouthpiece. Yeah, he with us. And anybody that's with them is a good guy, is a swell guy, right? But anybody that's against them, right? They're a liar, right? When the president, let me land this real quick. When the president is talking about networks giving him bad publicity, the first thing that he should understand is that the networks are not there, sir, to
To
advertise
serve you.
the show
Right.
or to advertise your show, right? You still think you're on The Apprentice. You think they're supposed to give you raving reviews. You want your Oscars, sir. This is what you want. That's not what they're there for. And the problem that we constantly keep running into is that most of these corporate heads, they will do anything to turn a profit. And I'm going to go right back to that Epstein list. Every time it's getting hot over there, Trump always seems to have something that shows up. They named the CEO of the Barclay Bank in the hearing this week as one of the people that were on that Epstein list. There's another 19 to go, but they didn't just say the CEO, they actually named his name at the hearing. What I noticed when they named his name at the hearing, you can see it on C-SPAN, but you know where they never played it? MSNBC, CNN, or Fox. You have to catch the name on C-SPAN. This is what's wrong with corporate media. And this is why I believe Howard Dean was right. I think it's time to break it up. If the media is supposed to be that fourth branch and it's supposed to be independent, now we know this should be a pure history lesson if America is to continue. This is why media must be owned by the people and not the oligarchs.
Okay. I want to give the brother his due because there was a death in Mississippi by
Mm-hmm.
hanging.
Mm-hmm.
21-year-old
Yeah.
DeMar Travian Trey Reed was found 7 a.m. on Monday morning hanging at
Mm-hmm.
Delta State University in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
The autopsy performed found that there was no foul play. However, Colin Kaepernick has stepped in, said he will fund a second autopsy, independent autopsy for the family, and then we'll figure out from whatever the findings are from those.
Yes.
We'll
Hey,
report
they done
those as
hired your
well.
boy. They got your boy on the job, the hardest working black man in America.
You talking about Crump? Ben Crump?
Hey, they didn't crumpled it up. It's curtains. They got BC before Christ in the
Well,
job.
it ain't curtains. It'll be money, but it ain't no curtains because I don't remember this boy ever going to trial to win a case. I remember him winning in the trial of public opinion. I remember him getting some money, but I don't remember him ever being in front of the camera or a court reporter winning the case that was high profile. So I don't see that happening. But anything can change at any moment. And I wanted to get this in before we start giving our individual stuff to your point, Brother Barry, the Epstein file. So your man was on Capitol Hill speaking on his role in the Epstein files. So um, Alex Acosta, who was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida. He is the one that gave Epstein the sweetheart deal. He testified on Friday before the House Oversight Committee. Remember, this investigation ended in 2007 when he decided, I'm sorry, it was offered a non prosecution agreement in which the DOJ promised not to prosecute Epstein for any crimes investigated by the DOJ or FBI in exchange for his guilty plea to a single state count of solicitation for prostitution. I was about to say prosecution and register as a sex offender. The deal was for 13 months. He was supposed to spend 13 months in county jail, but he was given work release in which he could spend 12 hours a day, 6 days a week at his office in West Palm Beach to work until
Yeah.
um, his sentence was up. So basically, he was on a weekend evening jail situation for 13 months.
Yeah.
Obviously, he never made it out. He was killed while, I'm sorry, he died while in custody. And that's where we are with this situation. But Mr.
Mm.
Acosta said that he had no remorse for the deal that was given to Jeffrey Epstein.
Nah.
The plea deal was not made public. The victims didn't know until later when a news agency broke the news of what had happened. This Epstein is still creeping from the grave and slapping everybody and their mama and keeping them nervous on Capitol Hill. Um, I think this is why a lot of people are retiring as well. I'm not fully convinced that they're doing this out of the goodness of their heart and or they recognize that a fresh wave of folks need to come in. I think they're trying to do it before all the news breaks and they lose their damn benefits. So I think they're trying to step away with grace and favor before, again, the walls come crashing down and their names actually get read aloud because
Mhm.
there are a record number of folks retiring from Congress over the next year. Record number, never been seen. So that's what record means, right?
Mhm.
It's sort of like what Trump said about all the art that he saw while he was in the UK. No human has ever seen as much art as I've seen. Like, dude, this dude, he every turn he just tried to make he just has to make himself the center of attention. Just it's so
By
sad. It
Halloween.
really is sad.
By Halloween. I'm gonna say it again.
You've been calling it.
By Halloween. Because the fact of the matter is, the more that he does, and I will say this bit with Kimmel, I think that what they're gonna find out is it's that nuck, nuck if you buck. I what I'm seeing from everybody else responding, I don't think that this is gonna go away. And most people are on the internet. Don't make these comics start doing stuff on the internet.
Mm,
Don't make them start flooding Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok because they can make your life hell if they want to. The one point that I want to point out with all of this, though, y'all, and this is something that I thought about the other night. I'm looking at the Epstein situation. I'm thinking about all the other corrupt stuff Trump has done. I'm thinking about the COVID stuff. And I'm thinking about the people who are sitting on information that could save this country, but are waiting and holding it. And I think going back to Brother Rodney's point, I think they're holding it for financial benefit. There's people who know the truth. There's people who got the proof, but they're holding on to it for their lottery ticket. And that's something to be said about society today. We talk a lot about Trump and his greed, but we don't talk about the individualistic greed that we have in a lot of Americans. We got 6 minutes left. How we wrapping this up, Lee? Who's going first? Who's going second? Who's going last?
you got it. Go and start.
Well, for me, what I want to do is I'm going to announce that in 87 days, the Watch app will be ready. You have an opportunity. And after the app is launched, the opportunity is gone to purchase an early subscription for $49.99. It gives you a share into the company. If you want to, you can buy up to 10 shares. You can buy a family plan for four for $119.99. I'm proud of my team for stepping up, building out the database. Soon we'll be going around city to city, building out this database as we grow. I find this important because as I'm watching the story of the 15-year-old child that was murdered by, it looks like the R&B singer in California that was found chopped up inside of his Tesla while he's on tour. The panic button is needed. The features on the app is needed so we can make sure that we're protecting each other from not only law enforcement but also these other predators who are out there. So join the watch. Go to www.jointhewatchapp.com today. Sign up. If you got any issues, inbox me. Let's get you in there. Let's get you a part of the team. Brother Rodney?
So I did look up the list of people who voted. It is out there of the Democrats that voted yes for, I believe it was House Resolution, I think it's 719 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some surprising members on there. It looks like my black member of Congress voted for it, which I'm sorely disappointed. Know who's representing you and how they're representing you to make sure that you want them to continue to represent you. And if they are not, you need to let them know, and then you need to find somebody to primary.
Sister Rashi?
Well, you know that it was a rough week of school. Um, a child brought a knife this week with the intention of stabbing another child on the bus who, in order to protect their sibling. And so I just need y'all to know that these children and the children around you, are we going to respond to pressure? And you just need to be cognizant of how we are teaching them to cope with the pressure that they are definitely feeling. Thank you, brothers, for having a fantastic show.
No problem, no problem. Dang, that's wild. I hope that kid gets help, honestly, to learn a better way to cope with their stress. Yeah, there's a lot of folks out here that are um, acting out again because they don't know what to do with all these pressures and strains that are on their life. I want to shout out again Van Silk for putting together the 52nd anniversary of Hip Hop Celebration. I want to shout out Bukan for keeping me in the chamber to bring me back out to grab that microphone, do interviews, so on and so forth. I want to um, say thank you for everyone whom gave me a moment of their time. Coke Rock, um, Pete Nice, Grandmaster Flash, Grand Wizard Theodore, and Melly Mel. You know, Melly Mel gave one hell of a speech during that celebration. I will share that with you all,
Wait,
and I definitely want to. Yes, ma'am.
ain't Grandmaster Flash dead? Wait a
No,
minute.
not at all. Don't do that.
Who was
Don't
it
do
they
that.
killed in the studio?
Jam
That
Master Jay.
was Jam
Huh?
Master J. Jam Master J.
Jam Master J. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, no. Anyhow, yeah, it was an awesome time. I was a big kid in the candy store. I was happy as hell. I was just really in my feelings over that one. So I'm grateful. Thank you all for listening live. Thank you for those who listen later. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and the like. And as we always say, if nobody told you they love you, we're telling you now, and a damn thing you can do about it. Until next week, family.